not my will, but the heart's will be done. Now, before we start this meditation, it's important to realize that when we explore what it means, not my will, the heart's will be done, that we're endeavoring to connect, not with something else, to realize that when we explore what it means, not my will, the heart's will be done. That we're endeavoring to connect, not with something outside of ourselves, but with something very deep within ourselves, which I call the heart's will. And the my will is not really our authentic will or our authentic desire. When we use this prayer called not my will, we're talking about my will in the terms of something that's conditioned, a desire that's based on wanting, on assertion, on trying to get something. And we're endeavoring to let go of my will so that we can discover the heart's will, which is actually our truest desire and our truest satisfaction. So with that understanding of this very simple prayer, we can start the meditation. And allow yourself to relax, to breathe naturally, to take just a moment to come into an awareness of yourself, of your body, and also of the environment around you, the sounds, the senses, the feel. Remember that the foundation of all true meditation is to allow everything to be as it is. So that's where we'll start. Not trying to change your thoughts, not trying to change how you feel, not trying to change your state, but allowing everything to very deeply and very simply be. Now the entirety of spirituality could be summed up in this very simple phrase, not my will, but the heart's will be done. For the moment, we're just going to focus on not my will. And we're going to explore what happens in our being, in our bodies, in our minds, in the deepest part within us. What happens when we begin to let go of my will, what I want to change, what I think, letting go of my will, my agenda. Letting go of where I want meditation to go, what I want it to be. In this sense, my will is actually simply the agenda of the egoic mind, the mind that is always demanding that something other than what's happening happen. That something always needs to change, to be made better, for us to be happy, for us to find peace. When I say my will, I'm not talking about the deepest part of you, the most authentic part. In the context of this meditation, my will means the demander, the part of us that rejects what is, always thinking that something needs to change in order for me to be happy. So as always in meditation, it's very important so that this does not become something in your mind, that you stay very connected with your being, with your body, with your life force. So we are exploring, once again, what happens when we let go of my will, what I want. In this moment, the mind that demands that something be different or better than it is right here and right now. So silently and very simply become aware of any movement of my will, what I want, what I don't want, where I think I'm going, any effort to control. Now don't try to get rid of these little movements of what I want. Don't judge them. They're simply movements of conditioned mind, old habit patterns, trying to assert themselves, thinking they need to be fulfilled in order for you to be happy. So each time you notice a movement in your being of my will, what I want to happen, what I insist happen, notice what happens when you instead choose to let it go. When you are willing to look underneath what I want, what I demand, what is behind my will? Now you may begin to notice, as the mind calms down, as the meditator that would control experience, that would try to have its way is let go of, that there are gaps. There are gaps in my will. There's gaps in what I want to happen. And in those gaps, there's perfect peace and a perfect silence. And from that place of perfect peace, without any judgment, without any condemnation, you can experience for yourself that every time my will tries to assert itself in any way, you will notice tension. Tension in the body, tension in the mind. Anytime the mind is rejecting what's happening in this moment, there will be tension. It's the birth point of suffering being generated. Now it's not useful to condemn the movements of my will. It's just important that you see when it moves, that it's always associated with tension, with the inception of suffering. And as you begin to see this in your own experience, you begin to let go of the demanding mind, of the will of the conditioned mind. And as you begin to let go of the conditioned mind, You notice that there is a deep sense of underlying peace. My will, what I think needs to happen right now, is just a thought. It's nothing more, nothing less. So one of the foundations of spirituality is letting go of my will, of the little me's argument with what is. And we let it go when we see that it generates suffering. It generates tension, anxiety. And when you let it go, you can feel in your body and in your being a deep sense of ease, a deep sense of peace. Please remember that letting go of my will is not a new demand. It's not something that anyone must do. It's simply an invitation. It's an exploration. What happens when we begin to let go of my will? When we begin to let go of my argument with what is right now, right here? Now, as we begin to let go of my will, my argument with what is, and start to rest in a deeper place within ourselves, we can start to come into contact with what I call the heart's will. My will is always some form of an argument or negotiation with what is this moment. And the heart's will is a deep communion with this moment. It's an entering into this moment wholeheartedly, fully, completely, without reservation. It's a total willingness to experience the entirety of your experience right now, as it is. Because what's happening right now is the heart's will. It is the divine will. And we know it's the divine will because it is what is happening right now. And when we let go of our argument with what's happening right now, we enter into the heart's will, into a communion with a much deeper state of experience, with a much deeper intelligence. Just imagine that whatever's happening for you right now, this moment, is the divine will, is the will of the heart. And that's somewhere in the middle of what's happening right now is an invitation. An invitation to return to what you really are. An invitation to let go of the resistance to this moment. To see that resistance has never worked. That trying to assert my will onto each moment leads to suffering and conflict. and blocks us from a much deeper intelligence, a much deeper will. And so as we let go of my will, what the little me thinks it wants and needs right now, and enter into this moment wholeheartedly, without reservation, we're entering into the will of the heart. We're coming into communion with reality, with things as they are rather than with things as we want them to be. And so explore within yourself what happens when you let go of the resistance to this moment. What happens when you enter wholeheartedly into this moment? When you lay down your argument with what is. When we end the argument with what is, a whole inner sense of vitality becomes available to us. A sense of being truly alive, truly connected. Connected with the mystery of our own being, to the inner mystery that we are. Connected to our bodies. Connected to what's beyond the body, the silent presence. Little did we know that this moment, as it is the hidden invitation, is the heart's will, the heart's invitation, directly into reality itself. As soon as we open to this moment, as it is, without reservation, our experience becomes vast. There's a quality of depth that arises. A sense of silently being deeply connected, connected to ourself, connected to the most inner part of our being. Connected to the mystery of who we are. To a place within us that is finally no longer in an argument with what is. To a place within ourselves that has let go of control, let go of manipulation. Not waiting for anything to change, or alter, or become different. far from disempowering us. This actually empowers us, opens us to a vitality. When we let go of the will of the little me, of the egoic personality, in favor of the heart's will, we start to discover within ourselves a love and a compassion and a clarity where we can see things clearly, where we're able to experience things very deeply with no intermediary. Silently, wordlessly, we begin to discover that underneath the mind's argument with what is lies a dimension of being, a dimension of experience, which is free from the tyranny of the egoic self. Free of its views, its demands, its limitations, its wants and its desires. We come to see in our own experience and feel an inner vitality. Something that we may have forgotten, an aliveness we may have forgotten long ago, but can be discovered at any moment to still be present. And we find that the heart's will is actually our own true will, that there is no separation between the heart's will, the divine will, and our true will, our true nature. That they are not two different things, that they're actually one thing, one will. And so we discover this in silence, through letting go of my will. And experiencing what lies right underneath it. That aliveness, and that sensitivity, and that innocence that may have been forgotten, but's never been truly lost.